American Water Polo.
Hi, this is Damon Newman from American Water Polo. I'm here today to profile a club team, APS Knights, Dynamo Water Polo Club. I'm here with Stu Sheldon. Stu, how you doing?
I'm great, Damon. It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta as I look out the window from the social distancing world.
Yes. And we are dealing with some uncharted territory as we all kind of navigate the world right now. So, tell me a little bit about the club team. Where are you guys located? Obviously, you said Atlanta. The age groups that you work with. The mission about the program a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So in the fall, in Georgia, we've got about 45 teams from about 20 different clubs who play in a middle school and high school league. And that kind of runs August, September, and early October. In the spring and summer, so in the fall, I coach a team there called APS Knights, and that's kind of the city of Atlanta team. And then in the spring and summer, I help coach a team called Dynamo, and Dynamo is comprised of kids from a whole bunch of those fall clubs. So it's like a travel team.
Right.
And Dynamo practices February through the end of July. So some of the kids that play fall only play the fall, and some of the kids do Dynamo and then go straight into their fall team.
Excellent. So you're pretty much keeping yourself busy.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, there's no one in Atlanta who is a full-time water polo coach.
Right.
It's all passion project stuff. So it's an interesting balancing act.
Right. Yeah. You're balancing your passion and things that pay the bills.
Yes. For sure.
So what have you been doing during these times to obviously keep yourself busy? I'm sure there's no shortage of that. Take me through your day.
Yeah, so our last practice for Dynamo was on Sunday, March 15th. We kind of had a feeling it might be our last practice, so really all we did was scrimmage for 2.5 hours, which was great. And then had donuts at the end, and who doesn't like donuts? But even then, the way we passed the donuts out and all that, we were starting to social distance a little bit. Since then, what we've been doing is we have 5 main pillars of activity that we've got going. Number one is daily dry land exercises. So our coaching staff writes a daily dry land for everyone, and we send that out by email. We have about 280 email addresses that goes to, and we also post it on Instagram. And then the second pillar is we have a Thursday night team huddle on Zoom. Last night we had one with Jesse Smith, 4-time Olympian, working on 5 times now next summer.
Keep our fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And next week we have a Zoom team huddle with a former Division I water polo coach who lives here in Atlanta, Chris Radmanovich, and he's going to kind of give a coach's perspective on the college recruiting process. So the second thing is our team huddles on Zoom. Third thing is we share out content from other folks like American Water Polo, Cap 7, USA Water Polo, 6-8 Sports, etc. So we share content that other folks are producing. Fourth pillar is we have relationships with some clubs that are much larger, and they've created some proprietary content that they allow us to share with our kids. So that's another pillar. The last pillar is we do some classroom work, Google Classrooms and Google Forms, where we're asking the kids to think about specific questions we ask them and then submit their answers. And sometimes we share back everyone's answers. For example, what is your spirit animal and why? Other times we keep their answers just to the coaching staff. For example, what is your personal goal for 2020 season, and how can the coaches help you achieve that goal? So those are the 5 pillars that we've got out there.
So you're doing a lot of great outreach with your athletes. Obviously, you're doing you're taking in some Zoom conferencing to keep yourself on the pulse. You're sharing obviously a lot of content. You guys are producing your own content, and you sound like you're keeping it pretty light too, which is good at other times. It sounds like the communication piece has been great. You guys are doing a great job of staying connected.
Yeah, the good news is it's a level playing field. So none of our kids or none of the kids in Philadelphia or none of the kids in Northern California or Southern California are going to get any better while we're out of the water. But the opportunity is, how can we keep the gap as small as possible as to how much we lose from a conditioning perspective in particular? But then mentally, what can we do to sharpen our game, sharpen our understanding, and maybe we can grow, say, through watching game film together and dissecting game film together. Sure, you can't play tournaments, but you can at least build your understanding of game situations and how you think you might respond. It's not as good as actually playing games, but it's better than nothing.
Right. Yeah, I would agree that those are some really good ways of keeping yourself sharp and making sure you excel regardless of being able to practice in the pool per se.
Yeah.
So what are you
another thing we're doing is, like, while you're on your online class with your teacher, how many ball touches can you do before the teacher tells you to stop?
Right. Okay.
Anything you can do.
Yeah. Right. So keep your hand on the ball regardless of where you are. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what are you looking forward to most about getting back on the deck?
We're at a tipping point for the club this year. We've seen explosive growth at the 14 and under level, which is great. The last 2 years, we've taken 4 teams out to JOs, 18 under and 16 and under boys and girls. And in the past, our 14 and under players have played for other teams. And this year, instead of being a net exporter, we've got 20 14 and under boys who say they want to try to go to JOs, and we've got 9 girls. So we might import a few girls, but we've gone from basically 2 or 3 14 and under boys to 20, and the girls are growing as well. So that's really exciting for us. It's we've got more of a pipeline.
Great. Can you, as we close here, as a last question, can you recommend any, good books for athletes to read, whether it's sports related or, on a personal level?
Good books to read.
Yeah, because we know there's going to be a lot of screen time, right?
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is how you choose to use your time right now is really interesting, because there's a lot of research that indicates the more time you spend on social media, the more there's a correlation with increased levels of anxiety and depression. So, just because you're not in school all day long, where you're not allowed, or at least not supposed to have your phone on, doesn't mean lay in bed for 3 hours and flip through Insta or Snap or that sort of stuff.
Right. I wonder if that correlation is pandemic related, or is this prior to that? It's probably very true as well.
No, this has been years in the making. So we have to be very purposeful, particularly the athletes themselves. They have to be very purposeful, and they have to set a daily schedule and stick with it. But from a book perspective, I just started reading an interesting book called The Valhalla Exchange. which is semi-fictional, and it's about hunting for Martin Bormann, who was the #2 man of the Nazi Party right after the end of the war. And it's kind of one of those "is he really alive" sort of things. It's not conspiracy theory; it's fiction. But I've started that. That's pretty interesting. But I think what books kids should be reading now are books that challenge them to think about something different. Said more specifically, if you always read history books, read a philosophy book. If you always read science fiction, read an autobiography book. Just try reading something very different, and without writing a 20-page paper about it, when you're done with it, write yourself an email, and simple 5-paragraph email. What did I think the book was about, and why was it important, and those sorts of things. Not to create homework, but just to keep your mind engaged. It's sort of like doing a different drill in water polo. You're thinking about a different topic, and so it's activating your brain in different ways.
Right, and I also say it's like and along those lines, you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, right? You're trying something new. You want to get better. And I think all athletes can learn from that. Is that if you want to get better, you've got to push yourself out of your comfort zone, right? So I'm sure that's something you talk to your athletes all the time as well.
Yep.
And that's I think, and that's a really good that's really good advice, in terms of the literacy piece.
And you've got this crazy thing over your shoulder called a bookcase. And it has these crazy things on it called books.
Right.
And there's research that says comprehension is 4 times greater when you read it on a piece of paper than when you read on a screen. So as young athletes are reading, they should go to the bookshelf and take a book down and open the book and read the physical page, as opposed
there's nothing
to
like holding
reading
it,
a
right?
book
It's nothing like holding a book.
Smartphone or exactly. So, and again, so that's challenging yourself to do something different than you probably do.
Yeah, that's really true, and I love that. I love that piece of advice too. That's really great. Hey, I really appreciate the time. We really enjoyed learning a lot, more about APS, more about the Dynamo side of things. And, this is Damon Newman from American Water Polo. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and our website, AmericanWaterPolo.org. And remember, it's important to stay connected to what's important to you.